Hello, everyone, and thank you for attending our webinar. It's about advanced image robotics and the air camera. I hope and I'm confident we will provide you with valuable insights about the product, what the air camera is. As you know, it's not a common visit camera. It's a camera with built-in intelligence that is designed to support modern live production and remote workflows. Before jumping into our conversation, I'd like to show you the agenda for today. So after my introduction, I will present you our guests. I'm very happy to have with us today the two co-founders of Advanced Image Robotics, which are Kevin McClave, Chief Executive Officer of Advanced Image Robotics. He will share with us the company's vision, how it all started, and the mission that drives their work. And Nick Nordquist, Chief Product Officer of Advanced Image Robotics. He's the creative mind behind the technology. He will guide us through product design philosophy, the unique capabilities of their camera, and how these features can open new possibilities in live and remote production. I invite you all during the session to make questions through comments into the comments window of Zoom. Our session will end with a little section talking about the presence of advanced image robotics at IBC 2025. And of course, the usual closing remarks or other question if required. That's the what we are going to discuss. So let me introduce our guests. So I'm very happy to have with us Kevin McClave and Nick Nordquist. Hi, guys.
Morning.
Hello, Ali.
Okay, so I'm happy to have this webinar with such a global footprint because I see we have also a number of guests from US. So I've chosen a time of the day that could suit both Europe and USA. So I'm very happy to have such a number of attendees with us covering our session. So I don't want to waste time and I want to go to the juicy part of the session. So Kevin, I hand over to you. The floor is yours. Thank you so much for being with us.
Fabulous. Thank you, Alessandro. Nick, are you driving this morning?
I am.
Okay, great. We'll let you pop up our slides. Good morning. Thanks for joining us. For those that don't know me, I'm Kevin McClave. I'm co-founder and CEO of Advanced Image Robotics, or AIR, as we like to say. I'm not seeing the slide deck, Nick. There we go. And today we're going to talk about how our platform, how we're rewriting the rules of multicam remote production. So we'll go first quickly and do just kind of a brief overview of the company and background. Next, please, Nick. So what you see here is a skyline of beautiful San Diego, California. And that's important to who we are as a company because we're the southernmost city in California, right on the border of Mexico. We are not in Los Angeles, but we're a short drive away from it. We're not in the Bay Area, but we're a short flight away from it. And really what it does is, first of all, it gives us a beautiful place to live and work. But also what it does is it gives us some access to some unique talent in terms of being able to solve the problems that we're solving with the air technology. Nick, can you move us to the next slide, please? So what I'd like to say, or what we, one of the kind of key things with this company is that we are indeed a family business. So Nick and I are cousins. We've known each other a long time. And before we came into AIR, before we started the company 5 years ago, we both had successful careers in other areas. With me, I was about 25 years in enterprise technology. I've built a lot of hardware for companies like Apple, like Sony, Beats by Dre, GoPro, number of other companies that you've never heard of, developing both their hardware and their supply chain systems out of Asia. Nick was 30 odd years in production, actually in making film and TV. He's got 11 Emmys to his name, and he's also a technologist. So Nick had put together the original technology, original prototypes of the AIR platform. using parts that were out there in the world, using some DJI parts and some tablets and whatnot to kind of hack together this platform. And I saw it and I went, hey, I think we can make a product out of that. And then what we've developed since then is this full blown broadcast platform. And then if you can hit the next slide there, Nick. And one of the other key kind of things, if you look at the team that's behind us that has helped us build this technology, we've got access to quite a number of people that have come from some very serious companies to bring this combination that allows us to build some really unique and really strong technology for solving this problem of being able to make production simpler and easier, to reduce the equipment that's required. And simply, one of the best things I love to say when we were testing our AI technology with some customers earlier this year, one of my favorite quotes from a customer was, "It just works." It's like, doesn't explain why necessarily how it works or why it's better, but just says, "I love it. It just works," which is kind of the thing that we love to hear. Nick, can you take me to the next slide? So we've been deployed in a number of areas. So with we kind of hit two key niches. One is with the tier ones. We tend to fill good secondary positions, ancillary positions, whether it's in an announcer booth or whether it's just getting those shots that you can't get, because you can mount these things anywhere, you can control them from anywhere. And then really the bigger slot we hit is with the tier twos, tier three productions, where we can be a full turnkey system. So examples of that would be with the intense tennis league, the new tennis league coming out, or arena soccer here in the United States as well, where we can be a full turnkey production system that not only does it less expensively, but in fact gets them better video as well. Nick, let's go ahead and hand over for the technology portion of this.
Yeah, Kevin and I always joke that we should have started a better Zoom where your audio works and your video works instead of a robot.
Sorry, Nick. Sorry, may I interrupt you for 1 second, because Stefano, which is our sales manager, advised that during my presentation of the agenda, my audio was not there. So it's funny that we are people accustomed to broadcast since 40 years.
Yes.
When we do broadcast for others, we perform well. When we do for ourselves, we fail, which is something that can happen. So
that's typical.
Okay, so one important thing that I would like to mention that I was saying during the agenda is that we would like and we love to interact with our attendees. So for everyone that wants to put questions, just put comments in the chat window of Zoom, and I will bring the comments live. If there will be topics that will deserve a much, tighter interaction with the audience, we are happy also to bring our guest on stage. So we'll see. So Nick, one thing I would like to mention that I was saying during the agenda is also that you are the creative mind behind the AR camera. And this is not casual. This comes from your long experience into the production field. Nick has been awarded with 11, if I remember well, Emmy Awards for production. So is a person with a long experience and he has brought this experience into a product. That's the magic that I would like to underline before handing over to you. So Nick, the floor is yours, please. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alessandro. Yeah, the bottom line, your main takeaway from this presentation today should be that cameras have now moved into the modern age. We're still basically moving them like we did 150 years ago when the still camera was first invented. And there are much better ways now to move the camera that give us more control, more versatility, more creativity, and can also help lower production costs. So it's kind of this magic combination. What you see here on your screen right now is the Air One robot. You can control it a number of different ways. On the right there, you see manual control. It's controlled with a touchscreen, pan, tilt, and zoom on an iPad. And on the left, you see it there being controlled autonomously by our AI. The robot is what you see there on the left. It is very different than your standard PTZ in that it is high resolution, so it's large sensor cameras, gimbal stabilized, and the type of movement that you get out of it is very different than what you see out of a PTZ. This is much more organic. It feels, even though we call it a robot, it feels like it's a human being operating it because it does very smooth, organic kind of movements with easing in and easing out. That's really the big differentiator between it and a PTZ. You can take this thing live. Unlike most PTZs that, pretty much for the most part, you're moving them to a shot and then taking that. And the control is also one of the things that's really revolutionary. I know there's a lot of people out there still using joysticks for control. You have the muscle memory. I get it. Touchscreen is vastly superior in just about every way, particularly for new people coming up who may not have all of those decades of muscle memory to operate a camera. The big revolutionary part of what we're doing, though, is the autonomous tracking with the Air Autopilot. We'll get into that in a little more depth later on. But basically what that is, you turn the control of the robot over to the AI to track your targets. And there is still creativity, there is still human interaction with all of that. You just can control more cameras than you traditionally would. Instead of a one-to-one relationship with the camera, I'm often doing 2, 3, 4, sometimes 5 cameras at once, where I'm just basically commanding them what I want them to shoot. And one of the neat things about both of these control systems is that we can use this computer-based precision to do these movements. So the easing in, the easing out, the movement from one point to another, it will always hit its target when I program a specific move in there. Whereas even though I have 30 years of operating a camera, I might not hit it every time. The robot will hit the marks every time. And then the other big thing that the robot enables us to do is to have automated permissions, routing, monitoring, and we have AirCloud that acts as our orchestration layer for that. So a lot of the manual tasks associated with production, you can now automate. There's a little bit more information on the robot itself. Again, the key things to know here, large sensor, so you can get that digital cinema camera look with a shallow depth of field, fluid movement. You can stream directly from the robot itself with no other infrastructure needed on site. You can control it from anywhere in the world. All you need is an internet connection, and we have a VPN backend that's simple plug and play. You really don't need to manage that either. To Kevin's earlier point, you just kind of plug it in and it works. In addition to streaming, you can also record internally up to 4K 60 in ProRes HQ. There's also uncompressed HDMI out if you're doing a traditional workflow where you're switching on site. Touchscreen is awesome. You can do up to 40 presets, positions. Any kind of manual movement has a bunch of easing in it. If you're one of those diehards that still wants a control panel, we have an integration with Scarhoy. There's also some other neat little features that come along with that, in addition to being able to pan, tilt, zoom, all with knobs and toggles. There's also some cool programming stuff that you can do with the Scarhoy, where you can program a movement and then have the robot complete those series of moves. So it kind of expands on some of the stuff that we've been able to do with the iPad itself. You can control up to 6 robots from one iPad, and it's super low latency. I'm controlling robots all over the world. We did a thing in Finland a couple of weeks ago where I easily could have manually controlled those robots from here in San Diego. And using autopilot, I did remotely control those robots in Finland. So I was controlling, the robots were on site for this basketball game. I was here in San Diego. The EC2 Amazon AWS instance was in Frankfurt. And so basically the camera was connecting to Frankfurt and I was connecting to Frankfurt and commanding the robot where to move. So geography is no longer a limitation for your camera operators. I'll stop there for a minute and see if there are any questions.
Yes, there is one. SB1. Does system send 3D data for virtual system?
Yeah, so we do have all of those hooks. Our API will allow you to get positional information, a ton of metadata that can be used for those virtual production systems. We have one project trial underway that is under NDA, but it is a big it's for exactly that application. We're taking the camera data and using it to operate in 3D space. So the short answer there is yes, it is available for custom applications. Our API is available for your use for specific things by signing an NDA. We're also going to have downstream here. We're also going to have some integration with some off-the-shelf 3D protocols as well.
Okay. For the moment, I have no other questions from the audience.
Do you have any questions, Stefano or Alessandro? Anything I didn't talk about that you think it's important we touch on?
Okay. No, I know the product very well, so I'm keen actually to see the anticipation of what you are presenting to IBC, which is actually the autopilot. I see you already have the slide for us. Okay.
Yeah, so this is, and we'll show some video here in a minute. But the autopilot is really, particularly the ISO tracking, is the thing that's revolutionary. None of the existing systems, so far as I know, can autonomously track a basketball player in an NBA game and consistently hold them in the frame. So we have some footage we can show you. You'll see here this image this is Steph Curry from the Golden State Warriors. NBC Sports Bay Area is one of our customers. They have several of our robots, and we've been doing a bunch of field shooting and testing with them with NHL, NBA, Major League Baseball. And there's a chunk of footage here. Actually, it was the very first test that we did in the field with the robot, where we tracked Steph Curry for, I think it's 7 or 8 minutes, completely unobstructed. The autopilot runs and follows him in spite of the fact that he gets occluded. That's one of the big things that happens with traditional computer vision systems is any occlusion or changes in light or changes in the subject will cause it to lose its tracking. And what we've done is built a foundational AI model here. This isn't building on top of ChatGPT or something like that. I mean, I'm sure you guys have all heard of, the large language models in those. We've actually built a foundational AI model for visual tracking. It's a visual language model, if you will. The ISO tracking, there's 2 different modes it runs in. On the left here, you can see the ISO tracking where you can put it on any individual subject and it'll stay with it. You can see some examples from indoor soccer and some from NBA and some from auto racing. It's not restricted to humans. You can lasso anything and have it follow it. I'll have a video I'll show here in a minute from NAB where we put it on a badge and it tracks the badge. It's never been trained to do that. This is one of the things that makes it true artificial intelligence is that it figures out what it's looking at and figures out what it is that you're trying to track and then separates that from the background so it can stay with it. That's the point there about learning and adapting in real time. Your subject can even change form. I was doing a soccer thing where it was all girls soccer. So they were all, here in California. So it was all white girls with long ponytails. And all wearing the same uniform, they all looked very similar, and it did a fantastic job of tracking them. Even when I had a scenario where there was a girl in a pinny, like a little vest that they wear to separate them into teams, she goes off into the sideline and takes off her pinny, so she now looks the same as the girls next to her, but the AI recognizes that target subject had changed its appearance and decided to stay with it. So that's one of the things that's super powerful. Even in these complex scenarios, it can stay with its target. The game follow that you see on the right is a little bit different mode. So that would be following a flock of players in an NBA game or a soccer match or American football that you see there. It's physical pan tilt an optical zoom, unlike some of these other systems that use digital modes to do that. So you're still going in full res, 4K 60 with a digital cinema camera, as opposed to digitally panning, tilting, and zooming. You can also exclude things that you don't want to track. Like in there, you can see the referees are being excluded from this tracking. So in this mode, you can have what we call the eye in the sky camera. That's a lock off that sees the entire field or the entire court, and then it commands multiple worker robots where to point. So it's a multi-camera system that allows essentially one controller, one shot caller for multiple robots.
Nick, before you describe this process, Stefano has requested exactly this thing. So I think you have already replied. Stefano, do you think the answer and the explanation from Nick has been exhaustive?
Yes.
It's
It is.
okay.
It was.
Nick often gives exhaustive
No,
answers.
Stefano Tarantino. Sorry,
yes,
not
Stefano
me.
Tarantino.
Oh, sorry.
Stefano Tarantino. Yes.
Yeah. It's okay. Everything is clear now. Thank you.
You're
Yeah.
welcome.
So Stefano, there's one of the things you should know about that. The ISO tracking itself, it's sport agnostic. It doesn't need any specific training. It's tracking whatever that object is. For the game follow, it's related to specific sports. Like we have a specific model for, football, a specific model for American football, a specific model for basketball, specific model for hockey, because those all require slightly different parameters.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
This is how you set it up. So if you're going to do a on-prem switching, you have your robot here that's all being controlled over a regular gigabit Ethernet network. Your control for the iPad, or you could have a control panel like a Scarhoy panel for this. Your paint and shade from your V1 engineer can either be through a web UI or a Scarhoy RCP for doing all your paint and shade. You're going to take the baseband video out of the HDMI and convert it to SDI, maybe fiber, and run it back to your switcher. So it can play nice with a traditional on-prem setup, or if you're doing a remote production, you can also just have literally all you need is an Ethernet connection with a broadband connection out to the internet, and you can operate the camera from anywhere and send its SRT streams to anywhere without the need for any other infrastructure on site. We say within 1,000 miles, the control experience is identical to on-prem, but I've done stuff, as I was saying, from thousands and thousands of kilometers away, even in remote areas. I did a thing about a month ago where it was a music concert on Prince Edward Island in Canada. So far northeast part of North America in the middle of nowhere in Canada. And I was controlling the robots from here in San Diego. And that was 7,000 kilometers away, something like that, 8,000 kilometers away. So, as I said earlier, the geography is no longer a restriction. AirCloud is essentially, as I said, the orchestration layer for this. What this allows is it allows a non-technical person like a producer to set up an entire shoot, all of the technical portions of that, because it's basically drag and drop. You upload your site plan, and then you drag your robots into where you want them in position. You drag your switcher down here as your destination. You drag your autopilot instances down here, and it automates all of the routing and permissions for crew, because you can just drag and drop a camera operator to put them on a robot, and then they're free to have access to that. So this is also how you deploy cloud switching, or if you're running the Air Autopilot in the cloud, it's also how you connect up and control those instances. Does anybody have any questions about Air Cloud?
Not for the moment.
Okay. So here's what comes in the kit. You basically can take it out of the box and shoot. One of the things that's always made me crazy over my career is I buy some new product, take it out of the box, and then there's some component missing that I then have to go order that and have it shipped to me in order to make the thing work. we give you everything you need out of the box to shoot with it. You need to supply your own stand, you need to supply your own Ethernet networking, and you need to supply your own CFast card. Everything else is included in the box. You get the robot, you get the Zcam M4 digital cinema camera, you get a Panasonic lens, you get the zoom motor, you get a power supply for the robot, you get a PoE dongle for the iPad so that you can keep that powered all day. The iPad is included in the kit. We even include a quick release plate. And you get a chunk of the AirCloud and what we believe is the best in class customer support in the world. If you talk to any of our existing customers, that's one of the things that they will say, I hope, is that, they can get me on the phone. Like literally you can talk to me or talk to one of our other technicians, and we will make sure that you get up and running. I see we got another question there.
Yes.
Could you clarify what kind of synchronization is implemented in AirCloud production? Additionally, does the system provide ISO recording and support for time code to align in multi-camera workflows? Yeah, so the short answer to that is yes. You can ISO record in camera. There is, in the current implementation, there is not time code matching, but that is coming very soon. There's a networking thing that we have to do with that because the way that the Zcam works is it uses a network timing protocol, basically the same PTP protocol that's implemented in 2110. And we have to do a little bit further development to allow that signal to pass through the robot correctly to the camera. But that is going to be coming, the matching time code is going to be coming very soon. Let me show you a little bit about how AirCloud works here. So this is basically a shoot setup for tennis. And what I can do here is I'm going to take that camera out and drop a new one. So this is my projects are over here on the left. When I click to any project, I get my overview that tells me about, where it is, when it's going to happen, who the crew people are on it. Let me see if I can find one with a few more. Yeah, so here's all my project collaborators for that particular project. Then I have my shoot setup pane, and this is where I position my cameras. So for this one, let me delete one of these cameras out of here so I can show you what it looks like when I drop it in. And I'm going to delete the switcher out of here, and I'm going to delete a couple of EC2 instances just so you can kind of get a feel for how it works. So this would be a setup that a producer or TD, or you could basically have anybody in the chain who knows where the cameras need to go, do this work because it's literally drag and drop. So say Dragonfish is my robot that I want to put here under the basket or say above the rim. I just drag it where it's going to be onto the court. And then I put my camera operator for that. So let's put Sergio on there as that camera operator. Now I'm going to give it I also need to deploy an EC2. So let's say we're going to, for this one, let's say we're going to a vMix cloud instance. I just drag and drop that instance now to deploy it. And what that does is automatically route all of these camera feeds to that vMix instance. So when I come in here to Dragonfish and give it a camera number, watch what happens to this stream destination IP. As I change that number, you'll see that that stream destination IP toggles along with the robot. So if this is camera number 16, it's going to that EC2 vMix instance port 5016, which is pre-configured for the camera 16 input. I can also come in here and change my internal record and streaming format. I can do that either individually by robot or do a gang change to all of the robot. When I click that now this camera is configured for Sergio to control it with all of those settings and all of that routing to the vMix automatically. When he comes in to launch that control of that camera on game day, he just double clicks in his iPad and it pushes all of those settings to the iPad and then out to the camera itself. So it's pretty nifty because you don't get that. If you've done a bunch of cloud production and streaming work, you know that if you type in a particular SRT port wrong or something like that, it can mess up your whole flow of your production. So it just eliminates a lot of errors there. So this is the same way that you would deploy an autopilot instance if you're running it in the cloud. Again, it's just a drag and drop, and now that's available for you to launch and use to connect up to a robot and have it auto-controlled. Launchpad here is where you do that. There's some other neat little things we have in here. The master status dashboard is something I love. What this does, for those of you doing engineering on shows, one of my challenges, one of those things that always made me crazy is trying to color match the shows at the beginning to make sure everything is set the same. The beautiful thing about the Zcam is when these settings are identical, your images are absolutely identical. But say, for instance, I'm setting up and my robot Alcatraz doesn't match my robot Carlsbad or Dragonfish. I can very easily look in one pane of glass here and see why that is. It's because my white balance and tint is off on that, because I'm getting real-time information about the IP the LAN IP, the VPN IP, my internal record settings, my streaming, all of that stuff is available in real time here.
We have a question from Mr. Laszlo Labonks, which is a more commercial opportunity for us, actually.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
if you want to read and answer, I think it's for sure it's a good idea. Thank you, Laszlo. We'll discuss separately this opportunity.
But the short answer is it's always a good idea to plan and offer an air-based solution, no matter.
Of course.
Yeah. So again, this is one of those things that is great to have in the middle of production, where I can look up at a glance and see in red that all of my cameras are all recording at the same time. The long and the short of AirCloud, there's a few other things in here where you can, put links to your comms and some other things, but it makes it simple and easy to deploy, permission, and launch cloud-based production. But you can also be sending these streams to, like, if you have a REMI network operations center or something like that, you can also direct the streams to that, just like you would to one of our vMix cloud instances. And your start and stop of the instances is dead simple. You just literally click this instance here and say start, and it's going to spin it up. So again, we're trying to make what is typically a complicated production rather simple.
Okay.
You want to see some, would you like to see some examples of autopilot in action?
Absolutely, yes. I think this is very valuable for our attendees to see in reality what the autopilot does.
So this is that Steph Curry example I mentioned earlier, where it's coming down to the end of the game. He is the star player. We know he's going to take the shot. So we turn the autopilot on. The red boxes that you see back here are the auto human identification. So I don't know how well you can see that from the display, but there's little red boxes around all of the humans that it sees here. And it's a simple little switch that you toggle in the UI here to say, show me all the humans. And then what you're going to see is I'm going to come in here. You can maybe see it just a little bit. I'm taking my cursor and I'm picking Steph Curry as my target, and his box goes green. And at that point, it's tracking him. So now it's going to go down at the end of the game here and follow him wherever he goes. So it doesn't matter that another player steps in front of him. It doesn't matter when he hides basically behind another player wearing the exact same uniform. It's going to track him in this very chaotic environment and follow him no matter where he goes. So this is handy for, your what we call a GOAT, so greatest of all time. If you're tracking, Lionel Messi or some star player on your team, and you want to have an ISO of them because they're going to make stuff happen and you're going to use it in replay or whatever. You can see here at the end of the game, there's a ton of other targets there, and it's gonna stay on him no matter what happens. So there's also another good example here, and we'll send a link to you all so that you can look at, study these in a little more detail. This is another one where it's from this same game. So you can see there, I'm clicking on him as a target, and this runs for 7 minutes, basically unobstructed through this game where he is, he's playing full on action. You can see he's, mixing it up with the other players. There's tons of similar targets around, and it's going to stay with him wherever he goes. Some other good examples. One of the things, actually, I'm going to show you guys one of the things that I was talking about earlier, which is the uncanny ability of the AI to be able to track objects that it has not been trained for. So this was at NAB this year. Towards the end of the show, I came in and picked this guy's badge as a target for it to track. And you'll see there, it very quickly goes in. It sees the badge, sees the lanyard is part of the badge, and continues to track the entire thing. And watch when he turns away. The badge itself that I originally identified disappears, but it sees that there's still a little piece of that lanyard there. And so it holds the tracking on that until it can come around and see that badge again. Now, it was never trained to do any of this. It has gone in and figured it out on its own that that's what it needed to do. There's another chunk here where I'm tracking Kevin. Here you can see the subject identification a little bit better. I toggle on, say, show me all the humans. I pick Kevin out from the other pack of humans. And then it's going to track, Kevin wherever he goes. I generally toggle off those other bounding box identifiers when it's out chasing something. It's just a little bit less confusing, and it takes a bunch of the headroom off of the system for control. So it's pretty easy to switch over to another target. You can see I dropped Kevin, and I'm going to pick up this woman coming across right here. So you very quickly and easily can manually switch your targets. I'm going to drop her and then swing around, and this will be an example of how you lasso objects rather than pick a predetermined one. So I'm lassoing that blue bin, and then Kevin's going to go run around with it like a maniac here, and the AI has got to try and stay with it. So these are those pan multipliers and tilt multipliers are settings for how fast I want it to respond to the object. So if it's something simple like a person standing on stage, you can leave it at 1. For something that's moving quickly, like a basketball player, you usually want to pull that up to a higher level. But you can see that the bin disappeared behind that wall, and it's just sitting here waiting for it to come back. As soon as it comes back into frame, it instantly recognizes that it's there and is going to go track it again. It's going to go over, then Kevin's going to take it. I had that set a little bit high, so I've turned some of that stuff down. But you can see here, it's going through a very occluded kind of scenario where it's completely disappearing behind signs, and it's continuing to stay with that target. So it does a pretty amazing job of tracking whatever it is that you're after. You can also, in addition, by default, that toggle turns on and off human tracking, but you can also go and pick other objects that you want to track. Let me jump ahead here to where I type in some things. Like I can come in here and type in chair and tell it to show me all the chairs, and it will identify chairs that I can then pick as a target to track. Or I can use any one of, I think it's 14,000 different objects it'll track. Like I say bin and tell it to show me the bins, and you can see it's getting the trash bin back there and the trash bins here. So if you want to track things other than humans, that is built in. And even if it's not something that's in the database of objects, you can also just lasso whatever the target is, like say that lanyard and badge, and it'll chase it down. Let me show you guys some other.
I have a question from myself, if you don't mind.
Yes.
Talking about game follow, what type of sports are we expecting to be covered by this type of AI? For instance, next year we will have in Italy Winter Olympics. I was born in a very popular ski resort area. So I may expect to have the air camera to cover skiing, for instance, which is a very difficult task for to be tracked
Yes.
by operators usually.
Yes, this is true. So if you're doing individual player tracking, you'd run that with the ISO camera. Really, the game follow is more for team sports. So like, I'll show you an example of that here. This is NBA G League with the San Diego Clippers. So this is the autopilot game follow where it's tracking multiple different targets as well as the ball. So it's saying, okay, here's the ball, here's all the players. Let me keep that all in frame. If you're going to do individual player tracking, let me show you some tennis. Actually, dog agility might be a good one, or some tennis. I've actually got some good tennis here that I just shot recently with Intense. So this is an example where I have two tennis players. I'm simultaneously running cameras on either baseline. And again, I'm doing this from distance. So this tennis event was in Atlanta. I was running this here from San Diego. The EC2 instances were in Ohio. So you're talking about thousands and thousands of kilometers between all of those particular points. And for the most part here, I am not having to intervene much at all on this. It's mostly just autopilot doing its thing. When I have to touch it, it's mostly because there was a substitution or something like that is what happened. But if you're doing something like skiing, you would be positioned in a specific area and then just hit that target when it comes in, that skier. We have some let me go back to our channel here. There's a good example with some auto racing in there. That would be similar to I didn't have it queued up, unfortunately, here, so give me a second. I think Kevin put some auto racing stuff in here just recently.
Nick, you can pull that. It's not in the channel, but you can pull it from the final slide of the presentation deck
from
there.
the deck?
Broadcast video shot with error.
Oh, here. Here we go.
There you go. Yeah. Click outside the. Yeah, sorry.
So here you go. Speeds are probably comparable to this.
Yeah.
In skiing.
So what I love about this one is that this was all in, except for the drone shots, this was all entirely shot on air. When you've got the sound on, you can hear the delight in the announcers' voices just over the shots that are getting captured. And this is also, all of this is drawn back to a Sprinter van where they're using so when you're talking about, shoestring production, looking like full quality professional production, this is a great example of it right here. And this was all manually tracked as well, just using the iPad. Could as easily be the AI autopilot, but another demonstration of how the app itself allows for fantastic tracking that you wouldn't normally be able to do.
And they're also doing this all touchscreen, because one of the questions we get all the time is, can a touchscreen really do what a joystick can do? So the short answer there is yes, it can.
Okay, nice. So, guys, I think it's we are 50 minutes from the very beginning of the session. We need to go towards the next, topic. There was IBC attendance of air. Do our guests, our viewers, have any other question about what have been presented so far? I don't see any comment. Okay. So I'm happy to announce that Air will be at IBC this year. They will be hosted at the Tekla System booth, stand 1F14. So for those that are going to IBC, it's a great occasion to see in reality the product, talk with you guys, see some example of AI autopilot in presence, which is very good. I would also love to introduce Stefano Grego, which is our sales manager. Hi, Stefano.
Hello to everyone. Thank you, Alessandro. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Kevin. Many of the people attending the event are friend of mine, so people I know since many years. So thank you for joining us. And again, at IBC there will be a complete setup, and you have the opportunity really to hands-on the system and to even to feel how the interaction through the iPad could be really smooth. So that's an important value. And it's please, for those without an appointment, feel free to ask for it. We can schedule in order to allocate the right time to all of you.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much. So if there are no other questions, I think that we have covered all the different aspects of the product. I am very happy about the presentation and the depth of details that Nick always is able to provide when presenting the product. So Kevin, you have a great collaborator for you, not just for developing the product, but also for presenting it. So which is great. I also wish to thank all the attendees of our session, and hope to see you them at IBC for those that are attending. Otherwise, of course, we can. I hope we have provided enough information. Of course, I will after the session. I will send to all the attendees all the links for Air Video Progetti as a master dealer for Europe, and also the link for booking a session with you at IBC, so that everything is covered. Okay, thank you so much, and thank you again for.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ciao, bye bye. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye bye.